G'day, it's Mike here, and I'm doing a series on tuning for the DF65, but I thought I'd go through the process on how I set up my sails, and just to simplify the process so that you understand how I get to a decent sail design and a decent sail shape. I mean, it is, in its simplest form, you just put your boat in and see how it goes. At the highest level, you could do a degree in fluid dynamics to actually work out the best shape for the sail to ensure that its shape maximizes your performance through the water. But here we go. I'll start off with the front of the boat, and we'll just run through the various issues which we've got here. What we're going to do is we're going to start at the front of the boat with the jib, and just have a look at the jib and how we would set up the jib. Basically, we've got three components to the jib. We've got the luff, which is the forward end of here's the boat down here, obviously. There we go. We've got the foot, and we've got the leech. What we have is, when we're trying to assess what the best shape, the fluid dynamic shape for sailing upwind, we need to consider these four things. The leech, which is affected by the jib uphaul, the boom, the jib uphaul, the jib boom uphaul. The sheeting position, which is affected by this slider down here on the boom. The jib halyard tension, and the forestay tension, which is affected obviously by the backstay. Well, those three items, the trim items which we have here, are variable and always depend on the strength of the breeze, the chop, and the environment you're sailing in. So if we just go through the basics on how to set it up, I think that will help you. Now, if we look at the fluid dynamic shape, on a downwind, what we're looking for is effectively the shape of the sail at the 50% quadrant. But when we're close haul and working upwind, we have it between 50 and 40%, where the major point of the shape is, 50% to 40%. That is critical for getting your fluid dynamics right. So here's the push, which is going down that way, and what you actually have is, when you're sailing, you get wind coming along here, and it goes along here. So what actually happens, for it to go around this section here, for the outside to basically mirror and match that, it has to go around quicker. And that creates lift on that leeward side. So that is what we're doing, is we're creating shape and we're creating lift. And it's about getting this angle right against the resistance. The resistance is obviously your keel, which is here, okay? So it's about getting that angle right. And we do that through using these four different techniques. What I'll talk about is, we're trying to achieve this shape in your sail, which effectively is like that, okay? And this is affected obviously by the foot position. So if you put your foot position in there, you can change the shape of your sail this way. Also, the leech opens the leech and exhausts the sail and creates a consistent pattern throughout the sail. By tightening the forestay, we shift the pressure forward. So by tightening the luff, we move this pressure forward. By loosening this and having a looser luff, we shift the shape aft, so we can get more of a shape like this. Okay, so you can actually have up to 3 millimeters luff round in the 65, which you generate by softening your backstay and playing around with your slider down here. In lighter airs, you look for a softer luff, so that you move the shape back aft, and that creates more drive. In a stronger breeze, in the 10 to 15 kilometre an hour breeze, or 15 to 20, what you do is you pull your backstay on tighter and shift your pressure further forward. So number one is to get your sag, forestay sag, correct for the breeze. In the lighter areas, I would recommend a 3mm sag on your forestay. In the stronger breezes over 10 kilometres an hour, you take that out completely and have a fairly straight luff on your jib. The second thing, number two, we're looking at is your foot position here. This slider down here, which affects the shape, the amount of shape in your sail. In lighter breezes, when you don't have as much chop, you don't need as much push through the waves, and you can have this slider back so you can run a 25 on your foot, effectively a flatter sail. That'll give you more sail and more drive in lighter conditions. As the breeze increases, what you want to do is have it so that it actually forces the bow down, reduces weather helm, and you do that by moving your sheeting position further forward on your jib boom. That increases this to around about 30-35 on your jib foot, and increases the shape and creates more bow down pressure, alleviating any weather helm you might have with the mainsail. Very critical to use that with a combination of your jib boom position in the stronger breezes. You can bring that in from 38 to 34 to actually effectively drive the front of the nose down further and improve your upwind performance and balance the boat up. Okay, that's the second issue. Number three is the leech position. Leech is critical. The leech exhaust position is critical. As I discussed previously, with the aerofoil like that, if you start bringing your aerofoil like that, the breeze comes off and it pushes back correctly. It goes back this way. However, with a tighter leech, if you bring your leech in further, what effectively you do, you get effectively a backwinding, or it's called a vortex. And that is a stalling situation with the sail and slows the sail down incredibly. What you're trying to see is for the wind to come out smoothly on both lines. Okay, so if this is your boat line, to try and have your leech in the middle of the boat coming out directly in line with your boat line, if you understand what I'm talking about. So you do that obviously by adjusting the jib boom uphaul so that you can get the right position. In my situation, I seek to get around about between the jib uphaul line and the middle of the sail. I get between 25 and 35 millimeters, depending on the breeze. 25 if it's a light breeze, and 35 if it's a stronger breeze. So this distance here between the line, the jib boom uphaul line, and the middle of the leech on the jib is between 25 and 35. And that is that's up to 10, and that's 10 kilometers. And this is over greater than 10 kilometers and over. Less than 10 kilometers and greater than 10 kilometers over. Very important. You do use, obviously you use this number, this is the third method of how you adjust things. You obviously need to put your boom in the right position so that you've got the maximum, the best type of exhaust happening there. You know, you don't want a situation where you're basically stalling through by pulling the leech in too tight. What we're trying to do is we want an aerofoil shape which maximizes the drive forward and minimizes the vortex or the stalling effect, which occurs when you have a tight leech. So what we're talking about here is getting a jib boom, which is around about 40% is your maximum draft, of around about between 25 and 35, 25 in light airs and 35 in heavier breezes. So that creates the best angle for creating a pressure aerofoil driving the boat that way. We obviously need to make sure our leech is exhausting and there's no vortex which occurs in this back edge which we're looking at down here. We've done number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4 is your halyard tension. Now halyard tension is also a function of tightening your luff, but it also takes out shape in your sail. If you have a loose halyard tension on your jib, what it does is it moves the shape back further aft. So generally in lighter breezes, I will have crinkles all through my sail, and that drives the aft further back to around that 50% level here. As the breeze comes in, I will tighten the jib halyard up and move the draft up to around about between 35 and 45% along this line here. Once we've established and put these things in place, what we do is we test it. And how we test it is we have telltales on our boats. So I have generally three telltales, one here, and then one at the back, one here on the inside, and then one at the back, and one here, and one at the back. And what I'm trying to do is to ensure that when I actually grab my boat and put it into the breeze, like so, is and I don't know whether you can see the shape which I've generated here, maybe not, but I put it into the wind like so, and I look to see whether the telltales are all flowing together. So there's symmetry in the telltales, and what that tells me is that the shape down low is similar to the shape up on the top of the sail, and you're getting a similar drive throughout the sail. And that's important, particularly in the lighter airs, not so much in the heavier breezes. As the heavier breezes comes, what you want to do is to have your luff opening here, reducing pressure on your boat, and using these lower sections here, which acts better in terms of a fulcrum effect. So what you're doing is, in the stronger breezes, we exhaust the leech more, and that reduces the amount of pressure on here and increases your drive forward, rather than just the boat laying over on its side and drifting sideways. I mean, the optimum position for a boat is around about 35 degrees. So, we want to have it at that 35 degree angle. Any more and you're sliding sideways, any less, and it's not, obviously you don't have enough pressure pushing the boat forward. So that's what we're looking at, is trying to get this, really when you look at it, there's huge complexity in terms of trying to get the shape right relative to your boat's position, your centerboard, your resistance, and your center of effort. In lighter breezes, I prefer to have the center of effort further aft to create weather helm, to create lift in the boat. So it creates lift and keeps you effectively on the breeze all the time. Not to the extent that your rudder is working against you, but in the lighter breeze it's not as critical. In the heavier breezes, balance is really important. So over 15 kilometers an hour, balance is super critical to get the boat really well balanced so that you don't fight the momentum of the boat by adjusting the rudder position on a regular basis. Boat speed is obviously a function of resistance and your drive in your sails. What we've talked about previously is the telltales and the trim. Trim is very important. To maximize this drive with this aerofoil, you need to ensure that the angle of the breeze effectively is coming in directly into the sail when you're on a reach or working. As you're going downwind, it can be directly behind the sail, which is the optimum position. But when we're working upwind or on a reach, we need to look consistently at our telltales. If the outside telltales flutter, that means that the boat, the sail is stalling, the aerofoil is stalling, and you need to ease the sail out. If the inside telltales, these inside telltales here, start wobbling, then what you need to do is to pull your sail in or bear away to achieve the same result. So it's important. There's a lot of people who will say to me, "How did you sail through me to leeward?" And it's a function of your trim and making sure that your sail is effectively pointing directly. That sail angle is pointing directly into the sail, and you need to consistently look at your trim and your angles, and your telltales tell you all of that. So very important to have your telltales in these boats, particularly with these opaque sails. You can have use audio tape, which I do, and you can easily see what the sails are doing. With that and your mainsail telltales, it gives you a very clear indication of where the breeze is coming from and how to pull your sails, whether you should be pulling the sails on, off, or bearing away, or coming up into the breeze. Really super important is to get that angle right to maximize your aerofoil shape and the fluid dynamics which are associated with that aerofoil shape is critical and can't be underestimated in terms of your boat speed and performance. In summary, we've been talking about the jib and the importance of getting the angles right when we're working upwind or downwind. If you're not going fast and you're not working upwind and and your boat's stalling, then the adage is, when in doubt, let it out. Always keep an eye on your telltales. If the front of your sail starts luffing or backwinding, you need to pull your sails in to maximize your boat's performance and making sure that aerofoil is maximizing its fluid dynamics and drive. It's important to keep an eye on your telltales on a consistent basis. Your leach, your foot, and your luff position will be determined by the sailing conditions, whether it's the strength of the breeze, how much the boat is heeling, and what sort of chop you're involved with. I hope this helps. I'll do another series on the mainsail, which is also this will be part 2 of this series. But I look forward to you getting out in the water and playing around with your jib and your settings there. Anyway, that's it for me. Please feel welcome to subscribe to the channel and look forward to seeing you on the water. Bye for now.